Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking basketball, Eastern Conference Finals. Game 3, we've got the Heat and the Celtics squaring off. For a limited time only, we've got 15% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net. Just use the promo code NFL15, where the Celtics are favored -3, despite the Heat leading 2-0 in the series. The total has gone down a whole point to 206.5. We've got Nick from the Insider's Room to talk some of these numbers. Nick, I said it before the show, why the Celtics keep being favored in these games, even though the Heat keep winning?
Yeah, interesting that. Absolutely. For this one, I'm going to steer clear of the total because I have a play on that one. So you guys can go check that out over at Picks and Parlays. I like Boston in game 3 here. I like them in game 2 as well, but I'm back on Boston again here. And I have some reasons behind that. The Heat, they're 10-1 straight up and against the spread right now in the playoffs. The only loss they suffered was that game 4 against the Bucks in overtime. And it just doesn't seem how big of a hole they get down. Jimmy Butler and company, they always seem to have an answer on both ends of the court as the game comes down the stretch. The Celtics, they've had big leads in each of the first 2 games, only to choke it away in the second half. Eric Spoelstra, he's been phenomenal during the playoffs, and during the regular season for that matter. He actually notched his 81st playoff win in that last victory, and that ties him eighth all time, with Casey Jones. To get to your question there about the line, are the Heat a better team than the Celtics overall? I think that right at this exact moment, that's definitely the case. I've said this a couple of times already over the last week, and I still do believe it. I still think that these teams are really evenly matched, and I think that's a sentiment shared by the bookmakers. As you pointed out, Boston's a 3-point favorite here. It's down 2-0. I think that's the largest spread so far in this series, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
The Heat are on a mission. Clearly they are, but I think that this Boston team is also really well coached. So I'm expecting it will give its best shot on Saturday to avoid, that 0-3 hole. I think Miami's going to finally suffer that long-awaited letdown. The Celtics, they're fighting with each other off court. They were furious at each other after that loss in game 2 there. But I think that's going to help bonding them. I think that's going to help them rally to fight here. So that's my call. I'm taking Boston on the money line, and that's about approximately -140.
You mentioned some yelling and screaming in the locker room. I think it was Marcus Smart. I always get those two
Marcus
mixed
Smart
up.
and Jaylen Brown, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But I think the sentiment for me would be I don't see the Heat sweeping this series. So I think if they're
Absolutely.
due for a win, I think the Celtics, this is a good spot for them to maybe sneak in a win. I still like the Heat in the series, but the trend that I would like to look at in this one is the under in the Celtics. The Celtics have hit the under in 9 of their last 11 games, and the only 2 games that have gone to the under have been games that went to overtime. So it's crazy how much the under is hit, and the total actually went down a point last game, and it still hit the under, and it went down again. So it's crazy what the under is playing for the Celtics team, which, as we've mentioned multiple times, a team that likes to play defense, a team that likes to play slow, play out of the half court. So I would keep my eyes on an under here, even though I don't love it at 206.5 because that's really low. But it's just when you see a trend like that, it's hard not to bite on it.
I agree. I think it's going to be a war from start to finish. You saw the way that Boston played against Toronto. I think that's their blueprint. They're hungrier than ever here. So yeah, everything is going to be contested. Every possession, it's going to be a war to the finish. So I would definitely, as I say, I can't reveal too much here on my total here, but yeah, I think you're making some good points.
Right. And one last X factor I would say would be the Heat shooters, because when they heat up, they can really change the outcome of a game because they have those guys that nail the threes. And especially with the bubble, they've been playing on the same goals the entire time, which as a shooter, that's a great thing. So that's the only issue I'd have in taking the Celtics. But again, if you're a team that lives and dies by the 3 ball, you can also die by the 3 ball. So 2 sides of that argument, I suppose. But that's going to do it for our basketball talk. Always good stuff from Nick. Nick, thanks for joining us.